Hey guys, this is Kevin Smith Jr., your host for the Container Happy Hour. Grab a drink, join us every 2 weeks, and we'll talk containers and future of the market. Welcome to another episode of the Container Happy Hour, guys. Got my good buddy here, Gary Cornell. Thanks for joining us, my man.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Why'd you go with the Pacifico for us today?
Well, I specified cold beer, and it's cold beer.
How do we do?
It's ice cold.
Okay, we win.
Yes,
we
sir.
Win.
Yes, sir.
So you are the regional vice president for the Evans network of companies.
Correct. Yeah.
Do you want to do a little intro about Evans? Explain a little bit about that company and what it encompasses?
Yeah. So first, I want to start. Huge Bo Bates fan. I think anybody in this room, Bo is
Shout out
familiar.
Bo Bates.
Yeah. So Evans, very unique company. Been around since late 30s. And the original founder's son is actually still on the board with the organization. Bo's a family member. Bo's got two sons in the organization coming up through the ranks. And so collectively, the company's going to generate north of $1 billion revenue when all said and done this past year, and been growing it this year. And for the guys watching, my job is to make sure we grow just a tad.
A little bit more.
The business development side of things. But it's a real diverse network. Obviously, you know us, and we've had this communication and connectivity because of the container drayage piece of the business. But my background is more truckload brokerage, and we've got 6,500 trucks chugging around the ports, the highways, and the freeways, and everywhere in between.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Give us some of the brand names that are under the Evans heading that people might recognize.
Yeah, so obviously there's Evans Delivery. The big one, we've got West Motor Freight. I actually was part of the acquisition that brought Great-Wide.
And that's where we first met.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Packard out of Shanahan, Illinois. Big shout out to Ken Ballo, the president out there. And then some of the other divisions, we've got New Age, which is a logistics company that's owned by Evans up in Chicago. Paul Hoban and that team do a nice job of providing freight opportunities within the organization and the network.
And the Evans corporate office is still in Pennsylvania, is that right?
Yeah, Schuylkill Haven.
Schuylkill Haven, right? Nice little town. How did your youth in the beginning of your career kind of lead you to some of these opportunities? Yeah,
so I worked with another company, started in '99, got into the industry, moved around, actually came out to the field with that company in Texas, which has got me out this way. And we actually met when I was part of that company.
That's right.
Through an old friend, Mike.
Yep.
And then after that, there were some folks that had left that part of the organization, came out, joined our organization, Great-Wide, and presented an opportunity to come out here, and we did that. Fast forward a few years after that, in late 2017, Evans actually acquired Great-Wide.
Right.
And that's how we became part of the Evans network of companies.
So you're going on 3 years now, moving into the Evans family.
We're in year 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's been a pretty smooth transition for you?
Excellent transition.
Yeah, it's a good group to be around.
Excellent, yes.
Good. Now, prior to you starting in this industry, in this sector, was this something you were interested in, or?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay. No. That's what makes for a better story.
Yeah.
So what did you kind of envision that you were going to end up doing?
Well, I don't know if the legs are showing up on camera, but actually had aspirations of putting the ball through the hoop instead of putting food in my mouth and driving around and talking to guys like yourself.
Right.
So, not going to get too into the story, and I don't know if these things are supposed to be tear jerkers or embarrassing for us, but I got a first job in transportation because my wife actually filled out a application resume online for the first trucking company that I worked for and submitted it on my behalf because I was still trying to live the dream.
So did you know she submitted it?
Absolutely no way.
No,
definitely.
You were still thinking, I'm going to play ball.
I got home from a tough day at the office, which was working till noon. Had a few of these with some friends. Got back to the house and got a phone call, and my wife's 5-6 months pregnant. Get a phone call from somebody, and she introduced herself. Her name was Julie. I won't say the company name, but said that we got your resume and we'd like you to come in and interview with us. And I said, I don't have a resume, first of all, and I don't know where you got this, but I think you have the wrong phone number. So
Right.
she stands up in her pregnant glory and is waving, giving me some motions in the background. And that phone call led to an interview, which led to me getting into the trucking industry.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah, very
I
beautiful.
don't know why I'm just picturing Seinfeld and Art Van Delay.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So prior to that, you're doing the basketball, and we'll get a picture for some of our Instagram posts because you're 6'10".
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, I think people can probably see the scale we've got here because I'm just under 6 foot and I feel extremely small next to you.
I would have pictured you a little smaller than that. But
Well, thanks. That's really nice of you. I thought I'd only bring friends on the first season of the show. But
Okay.
clearly, I
You
was
got
mistaken.
deep enough in the
Yeah,
season
yeah.
where
No,
non-friends started coming in.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We're on a reach. I got it.
Okay.
So the basketball thing, you played in college down in Florida, if I recall, right?
So just in the case that some old teammates see this, I was on a college team.
Okay.
I did not actually play in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're on a team, which is
Correct.
still living the dream to an extent, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're working out with the guys, you're
Yeah,
practicing with the
definitely,
guys. And I have to go down this path because it's honestly one of the funniest things I've ever heard from anyone that I've hung out with. There was a story, and I'm paraphrasing, but there was a story about you playing in a pickup game after college against the Birdman, Chris Anderson, right?
That's correct.
And him dunking on you, and your kids were fascinated with this story, or they were there. They get to see this, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
But there's a follow-up.
There is a follow-up.
Okay, do you want to tell that story?
So this story's been told several times, and it was not flattering for me, which is why it's funny for you. And so we're sitting at a Mexican restaurant out in Montgomery, Texas, and my son, his friend, jump up and they run to the door.
They're high school age.
Little 11 years old.
Okay.
Little kids.
Okay.
Run to the door. They're excited. And I turn back away. Birdman standing at the door. I've got family in town. They get up. My wife goes up. They jump over. They're over there talking at the door, and they're motioning for me. And I can hear, Dad, come over here. So to kind of pause the story real quick, the story that I told you that I'm not going to say on air today was my oldest son, who's in college and
Okay.
21. This is my youngest, my 11-year-old. So he's over there. I mean, it's Miami Heat, NBA champion. I mean, it's the Birdman, right?
Sure.
He's cool. He seems like a great guy,
Yeah.
except for the dunking on
Dad.
non-good athletes. But so they're over there talking to him. I go over, and because it's getting awkward at this point, I stand there, and my son's saying things to him, and Chris Anderson's looking, and I said, well, I don't know if you recall, but we actually played, and he smiled, looked at me, and said, oh yeah, I dunked on you. So it's a new generation of kids that know the story. And the embarrassment continues. It's
How
a
long
continuous
is between the actual dunking and the follow-up in the Mexican restaurant?
10 years.
10 years, and he remembered it.
He remembers it. And he's probably dunked on a lot of big, goofy trucking guys in his pickup game career.
Oh, that's amazing.
Thank you, Chris Anderson.
Yeah, thanks, Birdman. He does seem like a cool guy. No, I've never
Heck of a dunker.
I've heard.
Yeah, heck of a dunker.
Thank you for telling that. So, switch back to your main career path today. Let's talk about the industry as a whole the past couple of years.
Okay.
What challenges have you faced in, let's say the last 2 to 3 years, and maybe even, electronic logs coming into play, some of those things that maybe have shifted a little bit of the dynamics?
Yeah, so the driver shortage, I think, is the biggest thing, and a majority of that is just the old guard retiring and just aging out of the industry, and then you've got the new people coming in. I don't know that it has the same appeal and draw that it had back in the days, even though it's a great job.
Sure.
I was on the phone today talking to somebody, 2 of his drivers, $75,000, $80,000 a year. These aren't owner operators; they're driving somebody else's own truck, which is
great living.
a very good living. So that's a challenge. I think the electronic logs became a challenge, not so much because of how difficult they are to implement, to manage, and to work through. I think the biggest issue is the fact that they became a little more restrictive.
Yeah.
And so I think that's outside of the fact that the driver shortage is what it is. And I mean, there are a lot of statistics to back that up and support that. But the fact that some of the technology that had great intentions is just not really overall in the industry having the benefits to the drivers that I think folks are hoping for in exchange for making it a safer environment and some of those things.
Right. And does some of that technology come with a cost burden to the operators or to the agency or anything like that, or it's a pretty insignificant amount?
I think any amount when you're in an industry and you're a user of transportation services.
Right.
Here. So the rates have stayed fairly consistent and flat for a pretty substantial amount of time, while the cost of the equipment, the cost of insurance, the cost of maintaining the vehicles, all those things are going up. So when you couple that on with any expense, it's a significant expense. So I don't want to downplay that part of it. I think that what's, not to duck your question, but what's kind of neat about the electronic logs and where things are going is how it's tying into the TMS systems and how you're able to use it to be a little more efficient operationally. And I think that the guys that are driving the trucks and the women listeners, there are a lot of women drivers that are driving the trucks are starting to see the advantages of that. So I think the trade-off for a little bit more of a restrictive environment and the expense of having this maybe operating a little more efficiently is a nice trade-off and one of the benefits coming out of it.
Sure. I think we've definitely seen that. Obviously, we see a different side of your sector, right? When we see those trucks coming in and out of here. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing a lot more drivers because of the electronic log implementation. Now they're using that technology to, implement multiple other facets, right? Yeah. Now they want their dispatch paperwork sent electronically. Now they want to have the e-sign feature for their end load user, right? And all those aspects are now organized onto a tablet or some kind of smart device for them. And we're seeing a lot of gain for the driver. Like they're not scrambling around with the paperwork and trying to turn it in and get paid on it and get it back to a dispatcher and all these kind of things. It's all self-contained at this point.
Yeah, and a lot of that information can be automatically uploaded into the system, which ultimately pays
quicker.
Yeah, correct.
Gets everyone in the supply chain their paperwork on time, almost a live document, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big benefit. When you talk to all the agents that kind of work in conjunction with you in this market, mm-hmm. what do they come to and say, Gary, this is my problem. This is my biggest hurdle for success. What do they face as a transportation group?
I think it gets back to that capacity solution.
Okay.
And the fact that there are some challenges in terms of getting the capacity. And then I think a lot of it is because you're having to go outside of the network. And if you're trying to keep it price competitive and try to go out there and capture the business and get it direct from the customer, that's a little bit of the challenge that they come back to us is, and a lot of it is because of some of the insurance and contractual commitments and obligations with that, is finding quality capacity.
Right.
So not just people that have the adequate insurance and they've gone through the steps to get the authority set up, but it's people that you have a history with, people that are going to take care of your customers' products. So the benefit, and this is definitely an Evans plug, but the benefit of an organization like ours is the fact that we have such a variety of different services and transportation modes that our agents are able to come to us and we're able to plug them into the other divisions and the other segments of the business without actually going outside of the organization. So they're keeping it internal and keeping it in, and that's kind of the vision of the organization. Not mine, but the folks that came in before us and doing this is to surround you with the resources if you're aligned with an organization such as ourselves. And then that's how we came together.
Yeah.
And started having some contact and communication.
Yeah, I think the Evans model really plays that economies of scale type template, right?
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough to see a little bit behind the curtain and see how well run they are and see what a good job they do of trying to set up everyone from the driver through the agent up to you, to achieve success.
Correct.
They build a really strong infrastructure there, and I think that's a good plug for them. So I have no skin in that game. I'll happily give you that plug.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
There's
worries.
no more Birdman references.
That's episode 2.
Yeah, got it.
So they're looking at this driver shortage and they're looking at all these challenges. What do you kind of forecast? I mean, I'm sure you're in a pretty prominent role with the organization. You have to give some sort of outlook, and you have to say, for 2020, I'm going to forecast these problems, these growth opportunities. Do you have any of that in kind of vague terms that you could share with us?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So kind of going back to the challenge, we know what the challenges are, or some of the challenges
Sure.
are. We know some of the opportunities are going out to market with the solutions that we have, saying how we're going to overcome these challenges. So a lot of our growth is going to come from really leveraging the different capabilities of the network to go into any of the customers and say, instead of handling just your container drayage, we want to take a look at your flatbed opportunities. And, if we're handling your flatbed, maybe we'll look at some of your oversize, pulling some of the bigger equipment and machinery and doing those things. So I think the key to where we're going to reach this year's goals and the goals beyond this year is to go in and not just be have the tunnel vision and the blinders that I do this mode of transportation and I handle this part of the country,
Right.
is to invite more of the organization to participate and work in cooperation with each other to be able to go in there and have a bigger footprint with those opportunities, which should attract more capacity into the network. And the more capacity you have, the better paying freight you have, the more opportunities you can go
And
out
this
and
becomes kind of cyclical at
Correct.
that point, right?
Correct. And
And
you hope the machine gets going with enough
You're just
momentum.
feeding it.
Yeah.
And even if some of those opportunities require different agents within your heading to merge opportunities, right? And that's kind of encouraged under your flag.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you see a particular industry or sector this year that you really think is on a growth curve, or do you oil and gas, plastic resins? I mean, is that all still viable options for you guys?
It is, and we do a lot in those
In both of
areas.
those areas.
We do. I think the dry van markets are picking up a little bit.
Okay.
The consumer goods, the stuff that's going out, and the non-perishable stuff, especially. So we're seeing a lot of those types of things. We're doing a little bit more construction-related stuff, which is nice because it's a sign the economy's moving in the correct direction.
Sure.
There's a lot of those things going on. So. And in addition to the stuff that we've been handling historically.
Sure. Can you look at that construction and kind of overlay it sometimes and say, man, we're seeing these markets are really active based on the construction moves we're doing, where you might see more activity in Houston Metro versus another city in your region?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where the technology is going to come into play a little bit more, and there are folks that are more on the analytical side of what we do,
Right.
trying to connect the dots. I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of it also, is your feet are on the ground and you're looking at what's right in front of you. So we do have some other folks, fortunately for the organization, that are behind the scenes that are analyzing all these opportunities that the business development team and there are other guys that do my role in different parts of the country,
Right.
that are out there doing those things, and in conjunction with the corporate office, the agents, the different divisions, and doing those things. So collectively, to answer your question, that stuff is happening. Fortunately, though, it's happening by some other folks much more
Sure.
intelligent that are not getting dunked on
But
by
they are.
NBA players.
But they are analyzing some of those
Absolutely,
market analytics and making some of these forecasts.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. Yes.
Good. That's excellent. So change gears a little bit, because I think we beat up the transportation market now, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a pick for March Madness and the NBA championship coming up?
2 different teams will win each one.
Yeah, one for March Madness for college,
Yeah.
and one for
That's,
the NBA.
that's my prediction. One team will win one.
Oh, that's your answer.
And the other team will win the other. Yes, sir.
Oh, so we're really gonna go out on a limb.
Yeah. So big Miami Heat fan, which is shout out again to Chris Anderson, his championship days. I believe the Heat made enough changes with the trades and the signings preseason.
You're taking the Heat.
They're going to surprise the world.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
March Madness, any one of the 64, 65 teams
It's
that gets
wild
in there
this year.
is got a legitimate chance.
It's really
Yeah.
wild. The parity is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Stephen F. Austin upset Duke.
Yeah.
At Duke.
At Duke, yeah.
At Duke, another Texas school.
Do you have any allegiance to SFA?
I do not.
Oh, that would have been a cool story. Like,
Yeah.
one of your kids was going there or something.
I'll tell you this: nobody at SFA has ever dunked on me
That you know of.
that I know of.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, this was awesome. I appreciate you doing this, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yes,
it. Cheers, buddy.